It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, a show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I am doing very well today. It's actually quite beautiful and sunny here in St. John's, so we're enjoying the change.
So you stole it from us. We've had torrential rain this afternoon. It's been crazy.
That's normally my world.
That's normally the opposite, East Coast. All right. And in the guest spot, we're happy to have Canadian hard rock band VILIVANT. How are you doing, VILIVANT?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great to doing well, and great to have you on the show. We're happy to have some hard rock on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This is a complete honor. I'm excited.
A bit of a twist for us, so that's great. And for everyone else, please send your comments and questions to @SongTalk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode and to find links to resources we mentioned and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. And before we get to our guest song tonight, just another reminder about our very soon upcoming songwriting challenge for 2023, which is now we're like halfway through 2023. So by the time we get this thing rolling, and, so the songwriting challenge, in case you don't know, is to write a song in a mode or an unusual mode or a mode you're not familiar with. And we're very happy to receive some. We continue to receive some challenge songs from our listeners.
Amazing stuff.
Which is really great, and we encourage you guys to continue to send them in. We will literally do as many episodes as we need to do to get everyone's songs featured on the podcast. So
absolutely,
we love our listeners, so we're happy to do that.
Yeah, and some of the songs have just been great too. So, but even if the song isn't completely finished, or it doesn't have to be fully polished and produced and all that, it could just be you and a guitar, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, record it on your phone, as long as we get the lyrics, the chords, and it's relatively intelligible. Yeah, you can understand as long as we can tell what the song is, and that's all we really need. It does not have to be fully produced at all.
That is true.
Yeah. How about you, VILIVANT? Do you ever do songwriting challenges?
I do more so like for myself, like I challenge myself when it comes to songwriting, and a lot of the time, and I'll probably dabble in this more so when we talk in this podcast, but like a lot of the time I like to write about other people's experiences in life, and I very rarely like write about myself and like what I'm experiencing. So I take the challenge and like write about issues that I'm having at the time, and sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to write about that. Like, it's sometimes it's dark or whatever, and I feel like it should be kept to myself. But I take the challenge and just kind of write about what I'm thinking. And that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, that's very cool. And that's what we say too, is that, you can always take a challenge from us or from Toronto Songwriters Association. They do a monthly one. Our friend Chad Shang from Minnesota is starting doing songwriting challenges this year. Like he's doing one that's like a week long. You have to write a song in a week coming up and everything. So, there's lots of opportunities out there if you want to, get a song from an external place where someone assigns you something. But every time you write a song, you're essentially giving yourself a challenge. And as soon as you say, I'm going to write a song about this, or about another person, or about something, you're limiting the parameters for which your creative box is going to be playing in, and you go from there. So we're always kind of putting a challenge towards ourselves, whether that challenge is designed to sort of make you grow as a songwriter is maybe another question. So that's hopefully what we do with our challenges, is put you in a slightly uncomfortable place and hopefully push you.
Usually the best songs come out when you're like in the most uncomfortable place. It really pulls like some stuff that you don't even think about out of you, and it creates like magic.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Very true. Okay. And of course, once again, you can visit songtalk.ca, and on the sidebar there, Songwriting Challenge 2023, a whole bunch of things, resources on there. I actually just saw a video, and I added a video to that page over the weekend. A new YouTuber I discovered, who goes through a lot of theory stuff, and she was analyzing You Ought to Know, Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know, and all the modal stuff that's going on in that song is rife with like changing modes and borrowing modes, borrowing chords and everything. And she analyzes the bejeebers out of it, and it's a really good analysis of Dorian, not Dorian, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's kind of,
how cool.
It's a very cool thing. So definitely check that out on our website. Another article I saw, 9 ways you can use ChatGPT for your music. This is on the Discmaker's blog. Kind of an interesting little read. They explain a little bit about how ChatGPT works and all the 9 ways that you can use ChatGPT to generate song lyrics and music composition ideas, draft your press releases for your electronic press kit, explain complex contracts or terms, assist with business management, time management, marketing help, music production insights, even mixing tips, and getting feedback on your songs. From ChatGPT, cool. I guess. How well any of those things work. We'd love to hear from you, our listeners, if you want to try any of that.
As of yet, I have not been able to get a lot of success with any of this AI stuff. The quality never seems to be very good.
No.
And maybe I don't know how to use it well enough yet. There is one AI. Well, everyone says things like, "Oh, it's artificial intelligence." And sometimes I'm not really sure if it truly is. Like it's a bit of a buzzword, a buzzword everyone's using. But there's this at mixcheckstudio .roxaudio.com.
Oh yeah.
You upload your mix to this site, and it kind of gives you an idea about whether or not there's not enough dynamics or too much dynamics, whether the mix is too trebly or too bassy and that kind of thing. That's been kind of interesting. I think, Neil, you uploaded something.
Yeah, I uploaded my current draft of my Songwriting Challenge song, which I have not mixed at all yet. It's a mess, right? And it was mostly right. It basically gave me feedback as a mess. But, it's an okay thing, I guess, if, I suppose it depends on how much you can analyze your own stuff, and then you're going to come to the same conclusion. Maybe it's just confirming what you already know, or it's pointing out a couple things.
Yeah, possibly.
You don't know. I did try using ChatGPT for the lyrics for my Songwriting Challenge, and it came up with the most vanilla. Like I gave it the theme, came up with the most vanilla, bland lyrics I ever heard in my life. I was like, I would never write this. It has nothing to do with me. Has my twist on it, but it gave me an excuse to do a bad first draft because I kind of took ChatGPT's lyrics and then developed a melody and then went back and rewrote the lyrics.
Okay, that works. I mean, it's a tool that works.
It's a tool. It's just like any other. So you can use it. You can, and then that's what they say in this article too, is that at the end of the day, you're still the boss. Like you still are the creator of your art. So you get to decide what's what, and you can take everything that ChatGPT says with a grain of salt.
For now,
until the robots take over. Which is quite imminent, I fear. Okay.
Yes.
All right, tonight. One other celebrity news. Phil,
Tony Bennett. Yes, the amazing Tony Bennett passed away, and who's had an incredible career, starting from the 50s and the 60s. Was actually, I think, almost homeless at one point, and then his son took over his career, and then really came roaring back and did some stuff with Lady Gaga, and just an amazing vocalist. If you want to hear a great vocalist who can, he wasn't a songwriter, he just interpreted people's songs, but listen to how he hits the ends of those words. They're just masterful. Oh, wonderful. And he was 94, so he had a good life, but Yeah, very sad. Our condolences go to his family and his fans.
For sure. Okay. All right. Thanks, Phil.
Yes.
Okay. So tonight we're happy to speak to VILIVANT about her song Drown. And here's a little taste.
Inside a box with no end, feeling the pressure kick in. You tell me what to do, how to act, what to feel, but nothing's real. Oh, what have I done?
VILIVANT is a Canadian hard rock artist who started music at the very young age of 3. First with the piano and then picking up the guitar and developing her voice along the way, VILIVANT grew a strong liking to rock music. After receiving the juried sound recording grant from Factory Canada and the help of producer Sam Guana, VILIVANT released the full-length EP Running on Empty. Welcome to Song Talk Radio, VILIVANT.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
This is amazing. And then you just in reference to our songwriting challenge, we're talking about modes, and hard rock or metal. They're infamous for using those really, really dark modes, Phrygian and Locrian and all those bad boys.
Oh yes, for sure. I love those modes, man.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I gravitate towards that hard rock music to begin with, because most of the time some pop music and every kind of genre of music they use the same kind of modes and stuff here and there, but rock really focuses on those darker tones and stuff. And I just really gravitate towards that. I don't know if that says something about me, but I just think it's really cool and just kind of mysterious.
Do you purposely write in modes, or do you just sort of write music and it happens to be in modes, or do you sort of explore them on purpose?
I just write it and it so happens to be in modes. So I don't think of one thing. I'm okay, I want to write it in this mode. I just for Drown, for example, I was listening to a lot of 9 Inch Nails and Deftones and the darker new metal kind of bands, and those bands just so happen obviously to use a lot of those modes, and I really just gravitate towards it. And I wrote Drown in the midst of COVID, actually in the beginning of COVID. So we were all kind of in our dark place. We were battling with whatever. And Drown, I just the whole concept about it, the lyrical content and stuff, just it felt right to write a darker kind of song like that. And it just kind of so happened to be, this is kind of how it turned out. I wasn't really thinking about, okay, I want to write in this mode or anything like that.
Do you know what mode Drown is in?
I actually don't. I just, when it comes to songwriting, I'm just okay, this is this thing. I hand it to my guitar player, which we kind of songwrite together. Okay. And he kind of comes up with other elements to put into the song. And we kind of songwrite back and forth like that. And that's kind of how I make music. I don't really think about the actual technical aspects of it. Mm-hmm. I just, whatever comes in my head, it depends on where I am at the time. If I'm working, I actually get a lot of song ideas when I'm working for some reason, and I don't have access to a computer or a piano or my guitar or anything. I just hum it on my phone and use a voice memo to make sure I don't forget it. And then when I get home or whatever, I kind of experiment on the key, usually on the keys, and then I pick up the guitar afterwards because the piano is my first instrument. And that's kind of how I write.
Are you starting with melodies mostly, or lyrics, or what's the
melodies?
Process?
Yeah, so basically, it depends on the song, really. Sometimes lyrics come first. With Drown, for example, the melody came first. The chorus actually was the first thing that came. And it was, again, when I was working. And it was a time where I felt like I wasn't being appreciated of the work that I was doing. And I felt like I was okay, why am I here? Yes, okay, I'm getting paid whatever amount, but do they really appreciate the work that I'm doing and the effort I'm putting into my job? and other things too that I was thinking about at the time. And like the whole chorus kind of came to me, like I feel my head under the water as you push upon my shoulders. Like it's almost like you want me to drown kind of thing. And the melody for the chorus just automatically came to me. I'm like, okay, this is like really catchy and I could definitely use this to my advantage. And that day, like I remember like recording in the back of my workplace, like humming it so I didn't forget. And then that night, I came back home and I like figured it out on the piano. And then obviously the verses and the bridge and stuff came afterwards, but the chorus was the first thing that came to my mind when I was, first kind of writing that song.
And that was lyric intact. Like I was with the lyric, not just.
Yeah, like the lyrics weren't 100% finalized. They were just kind of like random words that I had in there to figure out like the main melody. Like usually I don't have lyrics on the top of my head. I hum like just random words that don't make any sense at all. Like I forget what my first draft was. It was probably like, I feel my head under the water. Something coming with me, like just stupid random words. I knew like feel my head under the water was something I wanted in the chorus, but the other words I just made up just to put there so I know like what the melody was going to be like. And then after the melody was created, I like sat down and really like figured out what I wanted to say. And that's kind of how that came to be.
Mm-hmm. With metal, I think a lot of people assume metal is all, it's riff based. Like it starts off with a guitarist coming up with a cool riff, because a lot of metal does have that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're mostly working from melodies as opposed to just, cool jams with a band.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like VILIVANT is like my stage name, but we're also a collective. Again, with songwriting, I come up with the main melody skeleton of a song. And then my guitar player, me and him, we just go hand in hand. We are on the same page when it comes to like what we're kind of going for. So it's really easy to work with him. Plus we listen to the same music. So it's like, okay, this I want to sound like Nine Inch Nails. Okay, I understand. Like it's just so easy to work with him. And my other guys too. But yeah, like since my main instrument, my first instrument's piano, it's kind of funny. When I was first starting to write, I didn't play guitar. And I write rock music. So the way I wrote was kind of funny. I remember going back into the studio back in the first time I went to the studio back in 2016. And I brought a bunch of demos to the producer at the time. And it was just piano chords. And the way I played it was so dramatic and like musical theater kind of, because I'm like, it's kind of like a Michael Jackson way of doing things. Like I basically, like I had the bass notes of the piano. Okay, this is what I want the bass to be like. And I was playing like, like random shit. And then same with guitar and drums. Like I had a drum MIDI pad and I just kind of like fooled around with it. But yeah, like the way, if I can find those demos, it would be kind of hilarious to look back at it. But yeah, they just sounded so dramatic because I didn't know how to play guitar, but I had in my head what I wanted the guitar to sound like. So it was very, very dramatic. But now I play guitar. So now most of the time I actually write with the acoustic or electric. And now like I'm writing new material that I'm going to be taking to the studio soon before I go on tour again. But now I'm more so focusing on making riffs, like you said, and like really honing in like a really cool, catchy, like dark punk rock metal kind of riff. And then I make a song from the riff. Usually the riff like is placed in the bridge or like a solo section, like underneath the solo. But yeah, like now it's like trying to figure out riffs in the guitar is so fun. And since I drop tune basically almost all my songs, like Drowned in D and D standard, and then Moving Forward, which is also on the album, is in drop C. So it's very very low tunings. But it makes it so much fun to like make like cool riffs because it's just so dark and like, I don't know. I like it. It's really fun.
Are you using like baritone guitars or just?
So I don't have a baritone, but my guitar player, he uses his PRS baritone guitar in valleys. Cool. And it's really cool. I don't have a baritone, but I can get by with my Gibson Explorer and my SG. But my Explorer hates the down tuning. But
is the baritone, is that an 8-string? guitar? Like, get the extra low end on that, or is that?
No, it's just you can put thicker strings on it. The one I uses is like an F hole one, so it creates like a deeper resonance and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can get ones with like 8 strings or whatever, but we just use the typical 6-string
guitars. Yeah. There's also a certain special something about hard rock, heavy metal band with female lead singer. I think because of all those dark tones and stuff, the higher voice can actually cut through it in a way that guys, some guys can, but but generally, the guys are down here, and you can sing a little bit higher. Is that, I don't know, is that something like when you get together with the band, you guys are arranging stuff in that kind of manner?
Like to arrange stuff that fits my like vocal style?
Yeah, because like especially with this one song, like you say, like you wrote the melody of the chorus first, and it really shines through. Like the instrumentation is fairly dark and heavy, right? But still, the vocal still shines through, and I don't think it's just a matter of the mix where the vocals just boosted a little bit. That may be a part of it, but it's also the melody and everything like that just kind of pops out. And I just had that thought in my head that I wonder how this would have flown with like a guy vocalist.
Yeah, I mean, like it's funny because I used to be in a cover band back in like the day before COVID and stuff, and a lot of the songs that I had to sing were by male vocalists, like Guns N' Roses and Led Zeppelin, all that stuff. But those guys had really high voices in general.
They're all tenors anyway.
So it's like it's almost like, okay, this is made for me anyways. I don't have to raise it up like 2 octaves or whatever. But for Drown, for example, if a guy were to sing, I guess they would just lower it an octave or something. But for me, like when it comes to like actually writing like the vocal melody, I always just tend to write something that's like not like I know my range, so I know like where my voice sits comfortably when I'm writing. So it's not like I'm for example, my weakest point, I guess, when it comes to singing is my lower register. I'm not like a low singer. I tend to go very, very high and like scream almost, but like lowing, like reaching those lower notes. Like I gotta say, in the beginning of Drown, it's like that's probably like kind of tethering on like my lowest kind of range that I can hit. Same with like Valleys and stuff, if you heard that song. But I seem to just write something that's just comfortable in my range. I'm not like forcing anything out that I'm struggling with. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. Yeah,
sort of. It was just a thought I had. I don't know how valid it is.
Do you find sort of that you move, because I know sometimes when people are writing songs, and I do this all the time because you're playing on a guitar and you have this cool riff, and then the riff tends to be either too, it's in the wrong spot for your range. Do you wind up sort of moving the key around, sort of like up and down a bit, like a couple of like a tone or to sort of find the range, or are you basically just nailing it?
I kind of know like where I want my voice to sit to begin with. Like, I don't know if I've ever actually had a song where I had to raise the key or lower the key. I think this is kind of a different topic, but like when I'm singing the songs live, for example, this is more so a tuning purpose thing, but like for Running on Empty and Narcissistic Entity, which is also on the album. So Running on Empty, like the way it's recorded on Spotify, it's in E flat, and then we actually tune it to like D standard. Not saying I can't sing it the way it's recorded on the album. It's just more so because we don't want to bring like 5 guitars on stage. Rather just have like the 2 that are set in D standard, the one that's set in drop C, and one that's a standard tuning. Right. Which I think I only have 2 songs that are written in standard, which is crazy to me. But I just kind of know like where my voice sits, and when it comes to performing live, we do that for tuning. But sometimes it helps with the vocals too, because it's a long set. My songs are always really high, so it's good to maybe lower a key. And I don't know. I guess to answer your question, when it comes to writing the song initially, I kind of know like where my voice needs to sit. and we don't usually have to go back unless like the producer has an idea and they're like, oh, let's speed it up or let's raise it up an octave. You can hit it higher or something. Like usually that's not the case, but sometimes they have those ideas that I don't come up with. But yeah, like I just kind of know usually.
Okay. Why don't we take a listen to the whole song and then we'll talk about it some more.
Sure.
I'm in a corner again, feeling like I'm trapped inside a box with no end, feeling the pressure kick in. You tell me what to do, how to act, what to feel, but nothing's real. What a waste if I don't feel anything. Watching the world go by. You wanted my best, is this a test? You know how I try. Oh, what have I done? What have I become? I feel my head under the water as you push upon my shoulders. It's almost like you want me to drown. It's time to paint a perfect picture, but wait now, here's a clincher. I think I'll have another breakdown. Now, you know what's best for me. You keep on bringing me down. What if I become? I feel my head under the water as you push upon my shoulders. It's almost like you want me to drown. It's time to paint a perfect picture, but wait now, here's a clincher. I think I'll have another breakdown. I feel my head under the water. It's almost like you. It's time to paint a perfect picture. It's almost like you want me to drown.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Did the song go through many changes as it went from working with the band and going into the studio with the producer?
That's a good question. So actually, the way we do demos, we do a lot of pre-production before we even get to the studio. I remember when I first thought of the song and wrote like just like a really crappy, I call it crappy skeleton of the song. It usually goes through three different demos. The last one is like the final one. Okay, it's studio ready kind of thing. And the producers that I've worked with in the past, they help with songwriting, but they're more so like, okay, give us a finished product, like finished demo, and I'll add like my input here and there, but we don't want to like interfere too much with like your vision of the song, which I think is pretty good because, you know, when you're a songwriter, you're like, I'm really stuck with this part. I don't want to let it go. And some producers are like, no, we need to get rid of this, or, you know, put their input, which sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's like, as the artist, you're so like just married to like your ideas and you don't want to like let go of them.
Well, it really depends. It really depends on the producer. It depends on the artist too. Like what are your expectations, whatever. But what I'm actually curious about the three drafts, the three demos. What happened in between those three?
Yeah. So the song, when we first brought into the studio, was actually 5 minutes long. So we cut down the song. Like we have a habit of making things way too long. That's like one thing. So we kind of knew going in that, okay, he's probably going to cut it down to like a 3.5 minute kind of song, which is like the basic song time frame these days, unless you're Tool and you want to go through like a 10-minute journey. But like, yeah, for like commercial radio music, I guess it's 3.5 minutes or up to 4. So the first draft was just piano, guitar, my vocals are really, I don't have a bass guitar, so I use my guitar for a bass, and I just put like a really like a deep effect on it to make it kind of sound like a bass. And then I put like some really not good MIDI drums, but to get the idea kind of thing. And then I sent it to my guitar player, Matt. And he was like, this is like the best song you've ever written. This is so good. I love the idea. I think it's great. And I think he was the one who, I don't know, I'm trying to remember because it was so long ago, but I think I didn't put the electronic drums in the beginning, but I kind of hinted at the fact that, hey, we should do some like electronic elements in the beginning, because my main inspiration for the song was like 9 Inch Nails or something. And 9 Inch Nails, obviously, they're more industrial when it comes to that stuff. So I was like, maybe we should experiment with something else. Like instead of having like a live acoustic drum sound, we can do like more of like a, I don't know, not pop, but like, I guess industrial metal kind of thing. Right. So he's like, yeah, that's a really good idea. So the second demo was the electronic drums at the beginning. Everything that I had in the previous demo, but more defined. And he added some riffs in there that I didn't have in the first demo. And it was like, there was like a part in the last chorus where we like dragged the chorus on 3, like, it was like how the last chorus is now. We had like 3 different choruses in the last chorus, if that makes sense. So it went on like 3 times as long as it should have. But that it stayed for a while until we went to the studio. And then the third demo was, again, me submitting my vocals to him, like a more defined vocal take. Backing vocals, harmonies, doubles, all that stuff I hate sending him vocals without any effects. It's so like stripped naked, you know? Yeah. He's like, he takes it, he puts the effects on it or whatever, fine tunes everything to make it sound as good as a demo should be before a studio or whatever. And yeah, so the last demo was just everything kind of like, it's just basically studio ready. Like could be released, that kind of ready. And then we take it to the studio. And then obviously the first thing the producer said was, let's cut it down. It's way too long. And we cut the last chorus out, a couple like bars and stuff. And we cut actually the breakdown parts where I sing, what if I become, that part. Initially, how we had it before, when I initially wrote the song, it was like, what if I become? What if I become? What if I become? So I sing it 3 times, and he's like, maybe not sing it 3 times and just do just one take, because that's a lot for you and for probably the listener too. And I was like, yeah, I get that. Let's cut it. So that also made the song shorter. And yeah, like not a lot was really changed aside from just cutting the song down and taking parts away that really weren't necessary. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Like from the first demo, which was just a basic skeleton of basic drums, basic guitars, basic bass, and my vocals, to the third demo, which was like studio ready, guitars are defined, riffs are defined, backing vocals, harmonies, everything like that was defined. And then going into the studio, making things like just basically making what we had, putting some effects in the background to really add more darkness to the song, and just cutting some parts that weren't really necessary.
So there was no, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
But so you redid the vocals in the studio.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, wow, those are home recorded vocals. That'd be awesome.
Well, the home vocals were very much like that, but they were just demo vocals, like how a demo vocal is, very kind of compressed and not a lot of effects or anything like that, just kind of laid bare, whatever, you get the idea. And that's kind of how we do things, but obviously, and then I don't know, this is really off topic with Drown, but I don't know if you've heard my song Stuck, which is on the album as well. The piano in that part was actually a piano that I made for the demo. I didn't re-record the piano. He used it right from the demo. He's like, you don't even need to like re-record this. Like, it's perfect the way it is. So he just grabbed it from the demo. Like, there's some instances like that where it's like, okay, there's some effects and some stuff you have in your demos that like you really don't need to re-record. Let's just grab it from the demo. I'll define it a little bit more, add some effects or reverb or something, and then we're good to go, which made all of our jobs a lot more easier, and it cut down on like some of the time, you know.
So between those demos, there was no tweaking of lyrics, melodies, anything like that? Like even before the first demo, was the writing was solid?
Yeah, like when it comes to like lyrics and stuff like that, I know in my life there was a couple, it was the part like, I hear the voices as they call, I see the eyes that watch me fall. That was the producer that came up with that, those lyrics. At first I had this, I don't even remember what I had before, but it was something that was like too many words. That's what it was. It was like too many words in this. Let's cut it down, simplify it, but make the same points kind of thing. So he came out with that, and just like maybe taking out a word or adding a word kind of thing, but he didn't actually we didn't rewrite like lyrics or anything like that. It was just like
what about how about your own process when you're writing the song? Do you go through many edits of the lyric, or does it all kind
absolutely
of
yeah I do. Like it depends on the song again, but like sometimes I take a day, write out like a draft, like my first draft of lyrics, and then the next day I have to take a break because I'm just so focused on that song. I have to take a break. The next day I'll come back to it and read it over again, and I'll be like, okay, so I don't need to say that. This is way too long. Cut down this word, and maybe add this kind of thing. And then I throw it away again for another day, and I come back to it, and I'm like, okay, and then like finalize a couple other things that maybe I didn't think of the last day or whatever. And then usually like it's a pretty easy process. Like I kind of know what I want to write about. I have kind of like a storyboard of like ideas before I actually even end up writing a song. So I kind of know what points to write about, I guess. And then it's just a matter of like finding the right words. I use Rhyme Zone a lot, as any songwriter does.
Great.
And yeah, that's kind of like my process.
So you storyboard, that's an interesting approach. Yeah. How does that work?
So for Drown, for example, like I grabbed like a notebook and I just like brainstormed like, okay, this sounds so morbid, but like what makes you feel like you're drowning in life kind of thing. And I put down ideas like people who have control over me, people who don't appreciate my work, and, you know, just like kind of more morbid ideas, but like just what should I write about? Like, what does drowning mean to me? Like metaphorically speaking. So that's kind of what I did for Drown, like just writing down like concepts, ideas to play on the theme of drowning, you know? So I kind of know like, hey, this verse I want to talk about, like the people in my life that are pushing me down. That's what I'm going to write about in this verse. This verse I'm going to write about like feeling like I'm floating because nobody's there to hold me down to like Earth's gravity. Like I feel like I'm just kind of like floating in life. Nothing's happening. Like, I'm just kind of like, whatever. This is also during COVID when nothing was happening. So I felt like I was literally floating. So yeah, that's kind of how I do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, lyrically, this is a really interesting song for me too. But in not even just lyrically, but like I really like how verse 1 and verse 2 are different enough in that you gave yourself lots of space between the lines and within the lines to be able to play with, being a little bit more wordy, being a little less wordy, extending the line, having a slightly different melody shape, because it's not, it's not the same rhyme structure. It's not exactly the same structure at all, right? So it's kind of interesting how it evolves like that. I love the chorus. It's super catchy. And I really like the kind of like my interpretation of the lyric is that it's not all, but it's 90%, external factors, like what someone else is doing to you, right? And all the influences of the thing. But there's a little bit of like your pre-chorus, what have I done? What have I become? Which puts the agency back on you as the songwriter, and then I think I'll have I'll have another breakdown. Like it's almost deliberate. You're going to have a breakdown. It's almost on purpose, right? So it's no longer the external thing, but which is really kind of nice in terms of a balanced approach, as opposed to playing the blame game where it's someone else's fault the entire time. What's my role in this in drowning? Like what am I doing to make myself drown?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And like, what have I become? Like, I'm kind of also playing on the fact, like, what have I done? I've been like this way for a while. What have I done? Like, why am I here? How did I get here? Kind of thing. And it's more just like mentally, like thinking of like how I can get out of this headspace. So that's what that basically means.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's I love the pre-chorus. Like that to something that really just jumped out at me. It's a fantastic bit of music. Was that like part of the original sketch, like demo 1, or was that added on?
Like what have I done? What have I become? That was always in there.
Yeah, that's just such a hooky part. It's great.
Thanks.
And it's a really good pre-chorus in that when the chorus drops, like the tension is there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The verse is tension, the pre-chorus builds the tension more, and then when that chorus drops, it's just fantastic, right?
I love, like, you'll probably notice this, or you probably have noticed it since listening to my stuff. Like, I love just building suspense before a chorus. Like, it's very much like my thing. And sometimes like pre-choruses are not needed. Like sometimes just verse right into the chorus and that's fine. Sometimes the chorus starts the song, like there's so many different ways to approach a song. Like, it's fun in a way because, again, it's like a challenge. It's like, okay, so should I start the song like with the chorus, or like with like an intro, or with a riff, or with the first verse, like right into the first verse? Like there's so many different ways to approach a song. And I just find it like so much fun, and just like it gives me like, this like feeling of also the fact that people love the music too. Like the feedback that I've been getting is just so wonderful. And it makes me feel grateful because people actually like what I'm doing. I'm not just doing it because, I love it. That's why I'm doing it. But it's good to hear that other people kind of relate to the content and, like they vibe to it as well.
What was so nice for me, and I realize this is also, there's lots of different styles of metal, and we really haven't done metal justice. It's just because people tend to come on, just don't tend to do that. But there is kind of metal that's out now, and I'm sensing that it's kind of maybe becoming a little bit passe, but where everything is time aligned. So it's just, they've like...
Is it the math metal?
They've quantized the life out of it.
Like very produced kind of thing? Is that like what you're...
Yeah. And this actually sounds like a band playing. As opposed to a bunch of stuff which is just time aligned. Because when you time align stuff, it just loses the energy. And rock is all about emotion. It's all about the hips,
Yeah, and I guess going off of that, going back to my song Stuck, when he pulled the piano from the demo, initially in his mind, he wanted to program piano during the song. And for me, I didn't like that because I heard it and it sounded just too fake to me. I wanted the feeling of the piano, the dynamic of which, like, where I'm pressing the keys and using, like, doing crescendo, decrescendo, like, just, you know, different things to really add depth into the song. And with programming, like anything, drums, keys, guitars, or whatever, like, you can add an element of, like, different dynamics and stuff. Of course you can now, like, it's crazy what you can do, but you just lose the feel, like the human feel of the person playing the instrument. So right when he right when he showed me what he had in mind for piano, I'm like, no, I either play the piano or you take what's from the demo. And he's like, he went back to the demo and isolated the piano tracks, and he's like, actually, you're right, because, like, it definitely feels better, like, having that piano, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes you do a live performance, even if it's a little snippet piece of that, you can never recreate that, no matter how hard you try, because the first instance of that, you weren't trying, you were just doing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
As soon as you start trying to do, you don't do anymore. You just end up trying.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't Yoda say that?
Yeah.
Isn't that a Yoda line?
Yeah, that's funny.
There's another Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
Do not try something, or I forget what he actually said. To be or not to be. It's actually
no. It was Luke Skywalker was like, "I'll give it a try," and he's like, "Try not, do."
Yeah, do right. That's what it is. Yeah.
I think it was "There is no try, there is only do."
Something like that. Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah.
And you call yourselves a Star Wars fan?
I've seen that in a long time.
I haven't watched that movie in forever.
It's the idea that counts, man.
Exactly. There you go. I have a Yoda shirt. You know, he's my guide of life. He's full of wisdom. You know.
Oh yeah, my first cat was named Yoda.
That's awesome.
So, did the band like track this live, or was it sort of all overdubbed?
Like the way we recorded in the studio?
Yeah.
No. So basically, we did each part separately. On the guitar, he did his guitar parts first, like a couple days guitar, a couple days bass. We did vocals before we actually did the drums. Coincidentally, usually it's kind of weird because the way that I'm used to recording things before I went with Sam was the drummer plays first. That's usually what it is. Like it's the first few days is drummer because they get the basic beats done. And then, but he was like game set on doing guitars first, and just the guitars playing to a click and some like synths or something, so we can understand where we are in the song. But like, yeah, it was really interesting the way he did things. And like, I understand kind of now why, because at the end of the day, like when you're first walking into the studio and you're tracking drums, like what if like the melody changes or that we add an extra line or something, then we have to retrack the drums all over again. Yep. So it makes sense. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, we did guitars. I think the guitars took, for the first round anyways, we went back to the studio again the next year to record the rest of the songs. But the first block of songs was Drown, Run Out Empty, and Comatose. We did 3 songs back in October of 2021. And the guitars were done in like 2 days. And then the bass was done in like a day. It didn't take that long. And then the drums, it took a day. And then my vocals took 2 days, 1 day for mains, and then the other day for harmonies and like backing vocals and stuff like that. And yeah, I think that's it. And then he mixed it and sent me like a cool like mix of it. And then I either give him the go ahead or I write out notes, which I do. I write out like a whole long thing of notes like, hey, can you do this? Can you add this? Can you take away this kind of thing? And then after that, he brings me back like a full mix of the songs, and then I take it to mastering.
Awesome.
Fascinating stuff.
So how long has this album been out then?
This album has been out since March.
Okay. So you've been writing some more songs in the in the interim for the next?
Yeah, I'm always writing, but we're thinking of releasing a single in the fall.
Awesome. All right.
Wow.
We'll definitely keep an eye out for that stuff. Okay, I think you're the band. So that is all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to VILIVANT. And where can we send our listeners to hear more of your music?
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. You can follow me on TikTok. My handle is @VILIVANT, @VILIVANTBox for Facebook. And then I have a website, www.thisisvilivant.com. VILIVANT spelled VILIVANT. And on the website, you can get information on like any upcoming shows I'm doing, ticket links, and all that stuff.
Cool. We'll definitely have links to all your stuff on the show post at songtalk.ca for this episode. And we want to hear from you, our listeners. So please send your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on Song Talk Radio on our resources page on the website. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup, whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil
at philemery.ca.
And VILIVANT, what's your go-to social media?
It's Instagram.
Instagram has you.
Yeah. It's VILIVANT, my name.
Yep. And be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
You can never do that. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great tune. It's a great tune.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Was it just Drown that you guys listened to, or was there other songs?
I've heard a couple of the other songs, but the last couple of days I've been focusing on Drown.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I love the video too. The video was really great.
Oh, thank you so much. Actually, the video.
You're right. Given the video, I assume the song was about family drama, right? Of course, but.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
It's up to anybody's interpretation.
Yeah. You said it was from your job and stuff. It's like, oh, sure. But,
it was from a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I thought the full family dynamic would be fun to kind of play around with. So that's why I did that.
It was great. It's great.
Great stuff.
What about I want to ask you what the name, the VILIVANT, what does that mean? Where does it come from?
That's a common question. Honestly, my answer always is I just came up with it. I don't have any crazy story or deep, meaningful reason why I chose VILIVANT. The only thing I can really say is that it was kind of a play on the word violet, the color violet.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just came up with VILIVANT. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Let's just
sure.
do that.
Okay.
You should have a different answer, because people are gonna ask that all the time. Have a different answer, so it's completely different. Oh, that was the last name of my parents' best friend.
Yeah, my grandmother's cat.
Yeah. Actually, that's so Maynard to say. I don't know if you know Maynard, the singer of Tool. But he's so sarcastic about all of his answers when it comes to interviews. And it's kind of mentally draining. I feel bad for the interviewers sometimes. Oh my God, he seems like such a smart ass, but it's just funny to watch.
Never get a straight answer from the guy? Jeez.
No, never. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. And I'm sorry about the whole thing that happened. I feel so bad. After postponing it twice, I'm like, oh my God, what the heck?
It happens. It happens.
Well, and I hope you'll come back on again sometime, because it was a great interview.
When you release your next single, maybe we can have you back on.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
And there's always a difference between the person who cancels by just not showing up and the person who has to cancel, tells you in advance, okay, we can arrange something else.
Yes.
No, I'm never like okay, I'll do it and just not show up. Like that's disrespectful. I always let you know. That's our human way of doing things.
Yes.
Other people who are like, let's just screw that, and not tell you. The heck?
I mean, we've been doing this almost 10 years, and we've had that maybe twice, Phil, where someone just didn't show up. People just didn't show up.
Yeah. It was worse because it used to be a live radio show.
Yeah.
So we had like an hour to fill.
We had to go on the air at 7:00 on Tuesdays, and we had to fill it with something. And if the guest didn't show up, it was like, what do we do now?
Oh no, that sucks.
Yeah, that was very frustrating. But
you email them after and say, "How dare you not show up to the show?"
No, we just ignored them after because they ignored us. So
we
don't need
terrible.
them.
Yeah, well, it happens. Well, as you found out, I'm sure as you realized, dealing with musicians sometimes can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So,
but you know what? I guess knock on wood, I'm grateful that I haven't had like jackasses yet.
Oh, nice.
Like everybody, like nobody does like drugs. Like, it's funny because the whole saying sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like I'm so like the total opposite of that. Like I'm clean. I don't do any of that stuff. I've never even smoked a cigarette before in my life. And like and same with my band, like the only thing that they would touch is alcohol, which like, I mean, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But nobody's an alcoholic. Nobody drinks like crazy. It's like one drink, that's it. And like we stay away from that stuff. It's like, that's for loser. That's so like 1980,
Yeah.
So
very true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Very true. Well, it's definitely true. Like I'm in a band right now, and I was saying to the guys, like, if this would have happened even 20 years ago, I wouldn't be going to all these bars where it's filled with smoke because everyone's smoking in there 20 years ago. I wouldn't dig it. Like, I wouldn't dig it.
You can still kind of smell it, like, because some areas for some reason, like, I don't know, like if you've ever been to Vegas and stuff, but like,
oh god, yeah,
casinos and stuff, they have their freaking carpets still from the 80s, and you can smell it.
It's still in there. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Some of those venues do have a bit of a thing going on there.
Yeah. Like seriously, like it's obviously nobody smokes inside anymore. You can't, but like, you can still kind of smell it. Like
you'd basically have to have it. You'd go home and you'd have a shower just because.
Oh yeah, like you come home smelling like you were the one smoking. It's like
it was disgusting.
Unfortunately, you can't shower your lungs.
No,
unfortunately not. Unless you take like those. As a singer, I have these like mist things that if I have like let's say a sore throat or I don't know, like I have like a cold or something. I take this like mist thing and I breathe in like hot mist, and it's not mist, sorry, steam. That's the proper term, steam. And like you can add like essential oils like peppermint or a eucalyptus or something. And it helps like with whatever cold, maybe you have phlegm in your throat, breathing in like hot steam is actually really good for anybody, singers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Clear the sinuses.
Yeah, for sure. It does.
Yeah. You should try that out.
Cool. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Yeah. We'll be in touch when the podcast goes. And
all right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
All right.
Great chatting with you.
All right. Yeah. You too. Have a great rest of your night, guys.
All right. Bye.
All right. You too. Cheers.
Bye.
What happened, Phil? Oh no! Did you spill something?
I just spilt my water.
Oh no!